proudest day and the proudest time in the seat of a rally car, because that day and that hour and those minutes, I got the bit between my teeth. You know, I really stood up and was counted and said, this is not getting away. I remember when we pulled on our helmets and Donald says to me, what are we doing? I said, we're going for gold, Barrett. That's all was said. I can still picture that run. That was just the best run ever.
Welcome along to Crunching Gears, the Rally Podcast, Season 3, Episode 49. And we're going to talk rallying once again. We catch up with the FIA historic rally manager is Jamie Edwards, and also Frank Kelly tells us about his overseas adventures. But before that, Connor, like this weekend, there's not much rallying happening at home, but there's a lot happening abroad with the finale of the WRC Rally Japan and also the start of the Silver Fern Rally in New Zealand. So we'll be keeping an eye out on, on the other side of the world, and it's going to be mess up our time clocks badly this weekend.
It's going to be late nights and early mornings, and yeah, as you say, I think our body clocks are going to be completely out of sync come Monday. That
is for sure. But like, you know, this is the final of the WRC. You know, it's not over yet. You know, like there's Neville's to lose, but we've seen in rally, and it's not all over to the fat lady sings.
Well, look, and it's everything to play for, and there's not too many years that goes down to the wire for both the Manufacturers' Championship and the Drivers' Championship. But yes, I think you're right. It is Neville's to lose. He's ahead of his teammate Tanak. He's quite comfortable, a good, solid enough finish, and he's got this home and dry. However, we've seen Japan, particularly last year, it can bite, and it can bite quite heavily. So, you know, a non-finish for Neville could throw things up in the air completely.
That's for sure. And then, you know, the manufacturers' crown is probably even more spice to that as well. You know, like Toyota heading into their home event, you know, they'll want to go out on a high, but they've a lot of work to do to catch Hyundai as well.
They do. Like, you know, we really have seen the Hyundai team go from strength to strength throughout the year. They've, you know, worked on that car. They've brought it a long way from what it was back in Monte Carlo. And, you know, going back to Neville, you know, he's been cool, calm, collected this year in that car, had some really solid finishes. And Tanak's had a few very nasty offs, but again, whenever it all clicked for him, you know, he had good, solid finishes and good points collection. And I think there's about 15 points in it for the Manufacturers' Championship. And I think all the pressure is on Toyota here. I don't think it's actually on Hyundai.
No, yeah, you know, first of all, I suppose Neville, this year he has been the guy that's been putting pressure on guys, where in previous years, you know, maybe sometimes he was the one that, you know, the other ones kind of seen as, if we put pressure on him, he'll crack. Where this year he's turning the screw on other guys too.
Yeah, look, what do you call it? You know, he didn't even rise to the bait when you had Ogier trying to play mind games with him about crying, you know, and learning to drive, you know, when you're leading a rally on a gravel stage and you have to do the road cleaning. He didn't even, it just was water off a duck's back to him. So, you know, and again, like his strongest rival has turned out to be his teammate. Hasn't bothered him. You know, there's been no issues there. They seem to get on very well. They're working together. And, you know, he's not faced with the fact that, you know, Tanak's breathing down his neck here to take the prize from him.
Yeah. And then, you know, then the manufacturers, like, you know, it's Toyota's home country. It's their home city. It's, you know, it's a lot of pressure, a lot of eyes on them this weekend. And you just hope that, you know, you'd like to see them doing really well. But it would be so tragic almost for Hyundai to lose it at the last gasp as well.
I think there's a lot of pressure on Toyota, particularly the fact that, you know, they're behind in both championships. You've Ogier wanting to make amends for, you know, 3 non-finishes more or less in the last couple of, you know, in the last few rallies. And then you've also spotlights on their Japanese star, Taka, you know, to have a good result, and if not, they're pushing him for a win almost here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then Taka is Aaron sitting on with him as well too, and like that, you know, I'm saying Japan's the other side of the world. Like there's him, there is Josh and Fuzzy over there as well, you know, and they're over there competing in Rally 2, and what a year they've had.
Yeah, look, they've had a fantastic year starting back in Portugal, and they really have had such a good, strong series of results. And it's great. Okay, this is Josh's first time to go to Japan. Absolutely amazing opportunity. Fuzzy was there before sitting alongside Craig. So it's great that Josh has that experience in the car sitting beside him to help him and guide him. And, we'd be hopeful here. Nice tarmac, smooth roads. It could be a good result there for Josh if everything comes into play properly for him.
That's for sure. That's for sure. And then as well as that, then too, we have Eamon Bowen and MJ as well too. We've said it before, and no doubt we'll say it again. Like, absolutely fantastic. They just must get. They pick their events that they want to do, and they just go out and seem to have a ball and get good results from it as well.
That's it. Look, they're rallying for fun at this stage. They genuinely are. But you're right. The results are there. Like, they're not just, follow-ons at the end of the pack. Like they put in decent results and can set some decent stage times amongst their class. And it really is great to see them still continuing to enjoy their rallying.
That's for sure. That's for sure. And talking about enjoying rallying, I caught up with Frank Kelly, and the last time we spoke, he was getting ready to head off on these foreign adventures, and I thought, we need to get this man back on and find out about Rally Legends, and then the rally in Portugal he done, and then the one out in Madeira. Like, Connor, we really do have to go to Rally Legends.
Yeah, look, anytime I talk to anybody who's been there, they just rave and rave and rave about it. So yeah, it's on the bucket list, but I think we're better doing it sooner rather than later, I think.
Yeah, yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. Yeah, and like it, we've said it, and we'll know it again. We'll say it again. It looks bonkers. Listening to Frank talk about it, it is unreal. It's just like, yeah. And then the variety of cars. To me, that's just the thing that really floats my boat. It's just the huge variety of cars, like cars that you had up as a child, you had up in your bedroom wall.
That's it. Look, I look at the video clips and I just take it back to the mid '80s. The Lancia Deltas, the Integrales, the 037s. And the Porsches, and you could just keep listing them. It's just amazing. And to see those being driven, okay, not necessarily in anger, but certainly, they're still drifting up the road sideways, and they're just full of excitement and drama. And then when you see the crowds, it is a little bit like watching Portugal '85,
Yeah.
where it's a bit mental. But yeah, the atmosphere just seems to be incredible.
That's for sure. That's for sure. And then, like, even onto Rally Basso in Portugal, and then onto the Madeira as well too. And like, two great looking events as well. But anyway, not going to tell you any more about it. Let's hear from Mr. Kelly himself. Let's hear from Frank. Frank, the last time we spoke, you were getting ready to head off in your travels. You've had some adventures last couple of months.
Hi. The sort of the hard season's over for me, as far as I was concerned. Once we get the Cork 20 wrapped up. The plan was always for that to be the last of the Irish season, and then a chance to do some of the foreign fun events, where you just go out and be a hooligan. So no, it's hard to believe we're the other side of it now. Three events done. Plan 2 and 1 popped up at the tail end of it there in Madeira, just there at the weekend. So that all went really well. Just we had a great time.
Yeah, and Rally Legends, like, you had missed it for a year. Good to be back and be in the midst of all that madness again.
It's even madder than it ever was. Literally, if any of you want to go and see a rally, go and see that before they stop them, because they're going to stop them sometime soon. I keep saying to you, Kevin, you need to go, and you really need to go, yes. Because it can't last much longer. I'll tell you. And half of Ireland was there, as you can imagine. Bigger crowds, crazier crowds, and I say this every year. It can't get no crazier, but literally, when you have to stop in the middle of the stage because you cannot see where the road is for flares and fireworks and people, and you have to stop and wait for the smoke to clear to drive on. Drove off the road at 10 miles an hour because the flares and the smoke was unbelievable. The stage was held back for nearly an hour. There was somebody's house went on fire with flares and one thing and another, and the stage still run. Fire brigade, but then got that put out. And between the chainsaws and the whole lot going, the smoke, it was unreal. We drove until I seen people on the side of the road, and then we just drove into smoke. And I had to stop, wait for us to clear for a second. It only probably took 3 or 4 seconds, felt like 3 or 4 minutes. But when the smoke cleared, we were in the hedge. We were just literally parked in the hedge, and sort of like, Jesus, the road's back there, and drove out, and away on we went. And that happened later on again as well. But listen, the atmosphere is unbelievable. just has to. It's probably what Group B felt like back in the day. You know, it's probably that kind of craziness, and just it can't last much longer.
No, and like it seems to be like every crew member as well. Never mind the spectators seem to love it as well too because of that whole craziness. They love to put on the show. They all want to go out and have a bit of a slide about. They all embrace that madness of it all, I suppose.
Yeah, you have to. It's like a couple of the Irish lads was out there and asking me, what's the do's and what's the don'ts. And I says the big do is just forget all you know about rallying. Forget all you know about timekeeping. Forget all you know about etiquette of rallying, and just go with the flow. Just don't discount anything. Anything could happen here, and it probably will. So just go with the flow. Just keep going, and that's what. A couple of them said to me afterwards, Jesus, I know what you mean now. It's just, I suppose over the years, especially MA events, safety is to the fore, and we can all understand that. You forget what things were like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. It's a step back into the past. It's like somebody put you in the TARDIS and sent you back to the 80s in the middle of Group B days, where people were losing fingers in the air ducts and quattros and stuff. Mental stuff, but it has to be experienced. It's probably the only rally in the world that I'd actually go and watch if it wasn't doing it.
Yes.
Just to see the Group B stuff, see the crack, see Paulo Diana being a hooligan, seeing me trying to keep up with him, and just the noise and the crack and the
rallycross supercars at the Audies and things like that look absolutely insane as well too.
They've become a thing now. These last 2 or 3 years, where they'll basically take their rallycross polo or whatever it is and stick one brake light in the middle of the back window of her and paint headlights on the front of her and a lamp pod, and away they go. Where else could you get that? Like 700 horsepower yokes and them just melting tires. There was one fella there, I can't even mind what nationality he was, spoke good English, lovely fella to chat to, and he was telling me she's full rallycross yoke, and the longest stage I think was like 9 or 10 kilometers, and his fuel tank had enough to hold 9 or 10 kilometers. So basically, the crew had to meet him. The service crew had to meet him at the beginning of the stage, fill her to the neck, and meet him at the end of the stage, and they hoped that he got there and fill her to the neck again. So that was there wasn't even a fuel tank. How enough fuel to do a 20-kilometer stage? Just what wasn't going to happen. So crazy.
And it's right from the get-go, like even on the Thursday night, even before the event starts, that the roundabout has become such a tradition now. It's nearly as big a thing as the event itself.
Well, it's typical of them. That became a thing of its own, where the crowds took over on a Thursday night after scrutineering and try to get crews out onto the roundabout. And I told you the story about the first time I was there, being funneled to this roundabout and not knowing what the hell was going on, and then having to do donuts with full hard Michelin's in the back. But the organisers couldn't get it stopped. I remember one year they had the big fire hydrant thing, the yoke for stopping riots, sitting in the middle of the roundabout, and that didn't work. So they basically embraced it. They made it part of the rally now. So the organisers, actually this year now, it was quite a decent wee stage they ran through it, where you did a couple of roundabouts with donuts at each one, and then down into an industrial estate, and then out over a big gyratory system, and back up and finish. And it's maybe they got to 3 kilometres, so it was worth doing. And you only had to do it once, so you didn't have to sit all night and wait to do it again. So it was actually an enjoyable part of the rally, even though it wasn't part of the rally. But it was their way of doing that. But you can see the crowds are starting to move till Wednesday evening now. So I would say if this thing keeps going, it'll be a week worth of super specials to get to the rally to try and keep it under control.
Yes. And then, as you say, the likes of Pablo Diana, all those other guys there, it just must be a complete assault on all the senses, the noise, the smell, the visuals. It just must be. I need to go.
No matter how much you tell people about it and how much you see on YouTube and videos and social media, it still doesn't prepare you for what really happens there. There's a load of lads from the Maher Water Club, John O'Neill, photographer, and Mikie Doyle, and all them lads, a rip of them all came out and they've been on to me for a fair while before about the do's and the don'ts and where to go and all that there. And as I said about the rally cruise, I says, just forget all you know about rallying. I says, this is an assault on the senses. And they were standing with their mouths open for the 3 days. Like John O'Neill got his media bib as well, and he was plunked in the middle of the roundabout. In the middle of the roundabout, and it wasn't a big roundabout, but there was probably 30 photographers squatting in the middle of the roundabout, not stoning around them. Like how, where, what? Who thought that was? Who thought that was a good idea? But nobody got hurt, nobody died. There was 90 cars went through that, maybe more.
Mm-hmm.
Some did better than others, but all attempted donuts around this roundabout, and they're brave men to stand in the middle of that. They're looking at these, 700 horsepower polo facing towards you and melting the tires up, going round and round and round and round till he runs out of petrol.
Yes. And that went on for 3 days, and then you went off to Portugal for the Passo Legends as well, and that looked another fantastic event as well too. Portugal is really starting to embrace the whole kind of Legends thing now as well. That's only is it second or third time run?
Yeah, it's the third time I've done it. I think it has run. I think maybe that was their 7th edition. Mm-hmm. I think, and they've been building it up slowly but surely. It's a much smaller scale than San Marino, but there's two fellas that do the whole running of the whole thing, and boy, they have hearts of a lion. There's nothing that they wouldn't do for you or sort you out. All you have to do is send out a WhatsApp that you need this or need that, and it's done. It's sorted. It's a lovely wee village, about an hour and a half north of Porto. They get quite a few English entries as well, and a lot of Spanish entries and Portuguese. And they had maybe 80, 90 cars starting the event from all shapes and sizes. We usually go and showboat there as well, but I used my dozen gravel tyres in San Marino. So I had my allocation of gravel tyres already wrote off. And then I thought I had sourced more, and they were to turn up in Lusso, and they didn't turn up, so we had nothing but tarmac tyres. But with the Millington, you can still be a hooligan on tarmac tyres. Paolo wasn't doing that. So we did the super special and was quickest in the super special. They changed the super special on the Friday night where they had two roundabouts. I think I told you before about that. They closed a main arterial flyover road in the centre of Portugal to do this super special on the Friday night. And you go down off the flyover, roundabout, onto the flyover, up onto the flyover, over the flyover, down, and you do this in various guises. This year, instead of going round the roundabouts, you only done like a hairpin onto it and off it, so you didn't actually get to do donuts. So there was nowhere for me to lose a heap of time, so I just drove it, and was as sideways as I could, but we were quickest on it, and which was a surprise. And then overnight we thought, Paolo's not here, we don't have to be complete hooligans, we can just be semi-hooligans. Because when Paolo's there, we're all in gravel tyres, nobody's going for a time, and you wouldn't be cheeky enough to go for a time, because you make somebody look stupid because you're racing and they're not. Mm-hmm. So we felt that we had no reason, nothing holding us back from maybe pushing. So we pushed on for the 3 days and won the rally to finish up, which total surprise, given we hadn't got a new tyre in the van or anything. But it was a lovely 3 days and well looked after. Fair bit of rain as well, but the roads is fairly grippy there. When you watch out what's grippy and what's not. No, very enjoyable, very relaxed and very enjoyable.
Yeah, and as you said, the ways were looked after as well too. Like the people of Portugal, they really have taken Baby Blue to their heart.
They're very much, they're paddle heads, they're complete paddle heads, and they're like the Italians. And here as well, a lot of the spectators are fanatical. They'll do their homework. They'll know the car, they'll know the spec, they'll know the kind of driver you are, and whether you do this or you do that or whatever. And it's always funny, seeing like in Madeira there, where people are coming up and in Lusso with pictures downloaded from Donegal to get you to sign a picture. One of your pictures or one of Mark's pictures or somebody's picture that they've downloaded off the net to get you to sign it. And the fact that they went and looked for a photograph and downloaded it to get something to sign, it's hard to believe that they go to the effort to do that. Mm-hmm. But no, they're very fanatical about the whole thing, and great support. And they do a night stage as well, which is the only place that we started to do donuts was on it was a Saturday night. Saturday night there was a night stage through Lusso town centre, which was a nice wee stage as well, but it wasn't timed as part of the rally, so you could do anything you wanted. Imagine that you away with that here, you know. So every junction was reddened. But a few people nearly got clobbered in that. I nearly took one out, but luckily they had you come up into a hairpin right, and the road that you were hairpinning normally went straight on into the centre, and that's where all the crowd were standing, so directly in front of you. And they put concrete slabs up, but some point in Audi nearly went out over the slabs into the crowd. It was so close to getting the crowd. So they might have to rethink that. It never, if God help them, if an MA official would have gone through one of them stages, he would have a coroner.
But still, as you say, everybody was at home. It was a lot of fun, and sometimes we forget how much fun rallying can be.
Yeah. Listen, I can understand all the safety that's involved, and especially when we run 30-second gaps and 150, 160 entries or whatever, things have to be done a bit different. I can totally understand that. But yeah, you do start to realise the crack that they're missing, that you can easily regulate fun out of the sport. And I'm all about the fun. That's the only reason I go rallying is for fun. Like, it's not as if you're going to make money out of it or anything.
No.
I just want to go and have crack and have the fun and enjoy myself. And it's nice to get doing them events to remind yourself this is the way it should be or was, and yes, listen, I'm not going to bash anybody about safety. Safety needs to be looked after, and sometimes I wonder, when do people, spectators, marshals, organisers, competitors become responsible for themselves?
Mm-hmm.
And all walks of life, just not our sport. Why do we have to put this drink may be hot on a cup of coffee?
Because
you ordered a fucking hot coffee. It's not hot. Like, why do we have to put that disclaimer on a cup of coffee? That's the simplest iteration of what I don't understand the way the world's going these days.
No, but I suppose we have to work to the lowest common denominator, don't we? And that's unfortunately the way the world's going.
But we shouldn't. A lot of the times, I'm the lowest common denominator, and if I can manage, so can everybody else. But no, it's any person that can breathe and walk should know where to stand or not to stand.
Yeah.
But, it is what it is.
That's for sure. And I suppose in the midst of all this too, you said the night down in Killarney for the prize given for the Tarmac Championship. Sean has to be very proud of what he achieved this year, in his first year in charge of the whole championship, really.
To be fair to him, he's put a new breath of fresh air in it, and that's no distraction from anybody else that's done it before. But just new blood, and a fresh look at things. And like the Bollocks talked me into doing a championship I had no intentions of doing. And going to a prize giving, I had no intentions of being at. I genuinely, I told you during the year, when we signed up for the championship, much against my will, I thought to myself, well, sure, that's grand. By the time the Circuit of Ireland comes around, we'll be out of it anyway. It will not have enough points, so we can go and do the other things we want to do. And then it sort of snowballed that Jesus, we're still hanging in here, and we're still hanging in here, and then having to turn down a few foreign events because we had to do the rest of the championship. And then it became important then, and that might sound bad, but at the beginning it didn't feel important, but then it became important, and especially the likes of Damien Toner, a real hard-hitting, hard-challenging sportsman, driver that I've known for years and rallied against for years, but he made it even more valuable because having him to fight with, because it became a 2-horse race in the last couple of rounds. It was down to the two of us, and that made it even more valuable to me. Having somebody like Damien there to fight with and to have the crack with as well. And as I told you before, Damien kept us in a couple of rallies this year. He'll probably never do that again. But I'm sure if it had went all the way and he had won it, he'd have said the same thing. It wouldn't have been much use unless he had us to fight against. But I can see that. I think that'll really help, and I think a few people said to me that it was great to see us. When we won the last round, that we weren't, just the top point scorer, that we were the top modified.
Mm-hmm.
That sometimes you see different championships, and maybe the man that's in 5th and 6th is the one that's fighting for the championship, and they stay there because that's all they need to do. But with Damien and Conor Murphy being a registered competitor and being so quick as well, we had to just push like hell. We had to just throw the baby out of the bathwater and go for it. And
yeah. Aye, because
that
went down, with the conditions in Cork, it would have been very easy just to go, we need to keep our head here. But no, you couldn't afford to do that because, as you say, Damien and Connor and all, there was no margin for error, really.
There wasn't, but as you know, I make plenty of errors, and I went into that very much with the mindset, I knew the conditions would be like, we wrote really good notes. I was really happy with our notes. I was happy with my tyre choice. I had everything the way I wanted it to be. The car's feeling fantastic these days. Hadn't had it in a while, so it wasn't as if I was front new corner and I have to feel what way she's going. I started the rally really comfortable, and for the first time in a long time, I thought, if this has to go on its roof, it has to go on its roof. Not the best mindset to go in with any rally, but I was prepared to put it on its roof, and I haven't been for a while because I got fed up fixing the thing early in the year. So I was always just short of being mental, but couple of mental stages worked for us, and we got away with it. And thankfully, maybe with the rally being pulled before it finished, maybe I was getting an invincible head on, and I would have put it upside down trying to win the bloody rally or something stupid. But no, it worked really well. Then going to the prize giving, I'm not a prize giving kind of guy. My fun is on the stages, but it was lovely going to the prize giving and all the familiar faces, and to support the championship as well. And Lauren's first championship meant a lot to her, and Rosemary came down in the ring where the three of us went, and then we were presented with the Armour Bowl for, I think, contribution to Irish motorsport, I think. Not sure. But that was presented to us as a family, which was fantastic. Blown away, couldn't believe it. So I think it's fantastic for Rosemary and Lauren that put so much effort into behind the scenes and keep me on the straight and narrow and keep me upright and keep me alive, pretty much.
Because Rosemary and Lauren look after your social media. They drive this whole thing. They push the merch. All those it's all wee small things, but they make a huge difference to allow you to go and do what you do.
They take a serious bit of pressure off me to prep the car and try and drive the bloody thing. So, it definitely makes a massive difference. Lauren makes everything look so easy and, has everything detailed out for me. This is where you need to be. This is the time you need to be there. This is the amount of fuel we're going to need to do this loop. This is what the weather's expecting. This is what the tyres you used the last time you had that weather. All that kind of stuff that, I remember that now, that I need to be reminded of. And then, Rosemary's sorting out the accommodation and where we need to be and when we need to be there, and the merch, and just, people that come in to service and want to get a chat with you and stuff, she'll keep them around because you're coming, and she'll say, listen, you will have a chat and a photograph and youngsters in the car and stuff. And that's what rallying is all about, and just that wee family vibe going on. And none of it's planned. It just sort of happens. Everybody sort of reacts to what they need to do. I don't be giving orders like, you need to sort that, you need to sort that. I'm told what to do most of the time.
Yeah, because that means if that's somebody in Madeira or somebody in San Marino and they have come over to see Frank Kelly and to get the opportunity to go and sit in the car, that is going to be that wee 5-year-old suddenly in 20 years' time will be driving a rally car because of that experience. Of where if you'd have turned around and say, I'm too busy, that would have been maybe we'll never went back to a rally ever again.
There was a wee lad in Madeira there at the weekend that came over and his dad, and the lad spoke out English and wanted a photograph. So we were waiting at the time close. I jumped out and then I got him in the car, which was a bit of a shock to him. But that was grand. Took the photographs and they were all really happy and everything was great in the way he went. But he came back at the next time. I seen him coming back in, and he came and he gave me a card. And he's a go-kart racer. He's like 7 or 8. And I went, holy fuck, this boy will be Formula 1 World Champion or something. And it'll be me saying, I had him in my car. It wasn't. And like in a real professional picture of him in the go-kart, there was a card with all his sponsors and his contact details. And he was about 7 or 8. And I go,
yeah,
and
at 7 or 8 years age, we were playing Matchbox cars right about.
Who knows, 10, 12 years' time, you'll see him in Formula 1 racing around Bahrain or somewhere.
So then, you touched on Madeira there. You went over the weekend. Like an island that I've been on holidays 4 or 5 years ago now. I just thought it was a fantastic island, really lovely people. What was the roads like over there? What was that event like?
I should have probably asked you about it before I went to where it was for starters. For anybody who doesn't know, it's an island off the coast of Morocco. I went and looked it up and found out where it was. That was funny. Madeira have been on to me a few times over the years, and it's just never happened for various reasons, whether it's timing or finances or whatever. It just never happened, and I hadn't looked into it in great detail. But we had these two rally legends in San Marino and Lusso to do, and in between them times, they were back onto me again. And the scene we were doing, Lusso, Porto, the port that the car would go out of, was only an hour and a half from there, and in sort of 24 hours, it all came together, and it was done and dusted, signed and sealed. And I went, shit, right, I need to go and look to see where this place is, because I assumed stupidly that the ferry they were talking about, or the ship they were talking about, I could drive onto this ship off my van and shuttle and sit there for 3 or 4 hours and then get off at the other side. It's 4 days and it's a container ship. There's no passengers on it. So, but hey, listen, they made it so simple. One of the rally men in Lusso, Louis Fabella, runs quite a few Mark II escorts. He had 4 cars going and trucks, so left the whole yoke with him when we were leaving Lusso, and he took her to the port and loaded her first. The organisers took her off to the port on the other side, and she was just in the harbour parking when we arrived. So lifted her and drove her. It's only 45 minutes less down to where the rally HQ was. And all of a sudden, we were sitting in the service area in Madeira, which the service area, you need to see the photographs of it to believe it. Down at the harbour in Funchal. Yeah, that's the main city in that place. And the harbour there, and all the big yachts and stuff come in, and all them big cruise liners come in and drop off holidaymakers for 24 hours and lift them, and away they go again. But the service area was just this big concrete plinth heading out into the sea. And that was the service area. And literally you were looking at the Atlantic and these liners coming in past you. And you just think to yourself, what if someone falls out over the edge? Surely they're going to put barriers up, and it was about, I don't know, maybe 40 foot wide. And there was a retaining wall behind you. So we parked at the wall, and I thought, there's definitely a fall in that concrete. That's heading to the ocean. And I thought, even if you took a wheel off, it would just be gone. And no, that wouldn't happen. So I says, well, let's test this. So I set a wheel at the wall, against the wall, sideways against the wall, and let it start rolling and rolling and rolling. And it headed for the sea. I had to lift it about a foot before it went into the sea. And I said, I fucking told you there's a fall in that. It'll head to the sea. So my shuttle and van was parked there, and I had the wheels chocked in. I let the wheels of the shuttle down in case the handbrake went off her, and she would head for the ocean. It was fantastic, but it was hair-raising. That was the scariest thing about the rally, was the service part. But 24 degrees, beautiful weather down at the ocean there, and just picturesque, unbelievable. But then head to the stages, which are only 20 minutes away up in the mountains, and it's autumn. Brown leaves all over the road, damp surface, and 10 degrees less, 11, 12 degrees. Just culture shock, because you're going straight up this bloody mountain. And as I thought when you get to the top of the mountain, it'll level off. Yeah, for about 10 foot, and then it goes down again. So the stages were all uphills and downhills, uphill and downhill. So you were climbing for the first half of them and dropping for the next half of them. So once you get into the swing of it, it was grand. Again, we wrote good notes. We're happy with that. Got very mixed messages about what we were there to do. It was all show, and then the two lunatics is there. Jarimba in the orange Starlet, 2.4 Honda, and Claudio Norberg, is it? Norbega in the 1200 Datsun. That's a 2.4 turbocharged Honda.
So 1200 Datsun.
My whole. So them two lunatics, they're the showboaters there, and I thought, right, listen, we'll have a crack with them, we'll showboat with them. But then they made it very clear before the start that they were going for times. Balls, we're going to have to try and compete here. So that's what we did. We had the super special on the Friday night was a go-kart track, which was a good 35-40 minutes drive from Funchal at 9 o'clock at night in the dark. Floodlit, but obviously 9 o'clock at night. Look, I made the biggest balls. It was giving it to be really wet. So I had one pair of wet tyres, put them in the front, and super softs in the back with a cut on them. Headed to the stage, and I thought, it's bone dry, it's 24 degrees here, and we're heading with full wets out. So I put 2 mediums in the boot, just in case. And I thought, well, I can lift them out before the stage starts, and you come back around the car park, lift them, and go home again. But when we were lining up, getting ready to go, there was a 30-minute holding area before the stage started, and bone dry. And I thought, well, these are the only pair of wets I have. It's given rain over the weekend. If I melt them around the circuit, which you could easily do, I don't have any more tyres. You can't, there's no tyre trucks. And I thought, well, I don't want to melt these bloody things, and it's bone dry. And with 10 minutes to go, I blinked and, right. Super softs in the front, mediums in the back, wets in the boot. And got that all changed and rolled up, and it's bone dry. Up to the start line, it's bone dry. Everything's great. This is going to work for me. And the boy in the Stratus was going round in front of me, and he spun and stalled and got stuck in the grass, couldn't get off it. So I took a tow truck in, then she couldn't get on the tow truck, then I pushed him, and it took 20 minutes to get him off the track, and it pushed. It absolutely pushed. And when I say pushed, Kevin, you need to see the photographs. The rain was bouncing off the road. Me sitting with 4 cows like so. So it was just a siege getting around that. I got round without swapping ends is the most I could tell you I did. I got round without swapping ends. But we lost 30 seconds to everybody. Oh, wait to me on us. But I thought, listen, it happened. At least I have 2 new wets to use. And then we had a bit run the first stage the next morning, and took a fair bit of that back. Then everybody tightened up after that. We started quickly for a change, and everybody tightened up. So it was nip and tuck the whole weekend. But Jerimba had an electrical problem early in the first day, and he had to go super early, so he was out of the racing. Claudio, now we nipped and tucked with Claudio the whole weekend. We eventually just got ahead of him, got into the last day, and then took a bit more off him. We finished 19 or 20 up on him. But he pushed really hard, so we ended up 4th overall. Really happy with that. Some boy called Delacour won it.
Yeah, some French guy or something, isn't it? Yeah.
Apparently he goes regularly in the Alps and stuff there. He's some operator boy. He never forgot how to behave, that boy.
No, because I've seen that even there's a wee clip of him up just going back to the airport, and even the trolley your suitcase is on, he's pushing it as hard as he can, jumping up and going hard, and he must just be a lunatic complete as well. He's
bit of a lunatic. Yeah. Funny, they had an interview thing on the Thursday night or the Friday before the rally started, and maybe in a foreigner they asked me to come up as well, and I'm sitting beside Francois Delacour, and he was talking in English as I was obviously, or trying to, but they asked him a question which I would love to have answered, because they asked him about the difference in rallying in the 90s till now, and what could be done to improve rallying now, and all that kind of stuff. And I so wanted to grab the microphone up him and say, we need Francois Delacour and the likes of him that speak their mind, and not the party political line.
The sanitized version.
Characters, real characters. That's what we need, plain and simple. Yes, we would love normally aspirated engines and 10,000 RPM, but we just need drivers with character, that can talk, and that will have a bit of banter, and maybe even a bit of spite. You look back in the McRae Burns days and stuff, when there was that niggle going on. Yeah. Well, it was real or not, it was great to watch, and Delacour baiting the head of his co-driver and one thing in Ireland.
Yeah. Him and the Panizzi, the daggers that was thrown across surface areas.
Oh, Jesus, but it's time. But you never see that now, and you never get to see it, and maybe it happens and we don't know it.
I just don't know about it.
That's what the crack's all about. Sure, it's like F1 and all that kind of stuff now. They're not allowed to use foul language or even point a finger at anybody.
The day they tried to silence Frank Kelly would be a bad day. With that beeper on you.
Good job, nobody understands a word to say.
So is that 2024 wrapped up then, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Your fingers crossed.
Unless the phone rings with something I can't refuse. That was the 13th rally, I think, this year. In fairness, Kevin, we've had an unbelievable season. We had a few blips at the beginning of it, but once I worked out how to drive the yoke for a while, we have an unreal year. I can't believe, if you had told me then last year we'd have a year like this, I wouldn't have believed you. I definitely wouldn't have believed you. I don't know now how we'd top that. I don't think there's any point in trying. I don't think I'll be signing up for any more championships. That championship we did this year was the first we'd done in 10 years. 2014 was the last time I did the championship. And there's great freedom not having a championship to do, because you can pick and choose and go where you want. And if an offer does come out to go abroad, just go. But having said that, for any young lads out there, a championship's so good to be involved in, to sign up for a championship and have your calendar ahead of you and know exactly what you're going to do. And it's good for, approaching sponsors and stuff. This is what we're doing. This is the championship we're competing in. This is what we're going to try and do, and get them on board to do that. So it has its merits as well. But at my stage of rallying, I think that will do me for championship.
Yeah, because for you, it is about the fun, the family. Yeah. It's about the adventure more than yes, it's nice to go and compete and be competitive, but it's the adventure. It's the whole other side of rallying too.
It's if I had hair, to be letting your hair down. It's just once I get in the cars, it's anything could happen, and it's just going with the flow and letting that happen and having the crack and not being afraid of being reprimanded about it, or get into trouble. It's like at the end of Madeira, when the whole rally's over, it was over, I think, with three decent stages on Sunday, and by 1:30, finished ramp done and dusted. But then they had what they call the slalom. Like, they closed the whole seafront, a dual carriageway up and down, and a big gyratory square type roundabout. They closed the whole thing to do the slalom thing, and it wasn't timed. It was after the rally. Your time cards was over, but anybody could do it. And they let you at it. They asked me to take somebody, and I said that was grand as long as I took Lauren first. So she showed me where to go. So she did it with me first, and had a couple of cones out to do donuts around, and then down around this roundabouty thing and back up again. And you're tipping 80, 90 mile an hour down to the centre of it, and people everywhere. But it was lovely to see all the tourists that got off the ships that didn't know what was going on in here. They were all lined up with their mouths open, going, "Jesus, what's happening here?
Where have we landed?
who's the idiot in the blue Ascot?" And I was going to say Panizzi, but Delacour did it, and the Maxi as well. Obviously she doesn't donut around things, but he handbraked around it, went back up, handbrake, and come back, and had the crack as well. And that for me is bringing the sport to the public. Them's people that maybe had no idea what was going on. Most of them had no idea what was going on. But to see that, and there was lots of Irish people out there that didn't know there was a rally on. And Jesus, you're from home. What are you doing out here? We're rallying. What rally? This rally here. See how we'll charge over there. And the crack, and like the amount of people I chatted in the plane coming home, they were all coming home and say, "Oh, you the idiot in Ascot." Just having the crack and enjoying it. And when we were out to do that, there was no running order. You just lined up and went, and the first 4 or 5 yards were through, and I thought, well, I'll just go now. So we jumped in and headed down, but I emptied her going down to it, and there was an official, and I seen him stand up, and I went, "Oh, here we are, we're in trouble now." And he went like that. I thought, right, the rally's over, but I'm still going to get excluded. Yeah. But no, it was thumbs up, away you go, and that was that. So that's the whole. That's just the mentality. That's just the way it runs.
But yeah, different scene.
different horses for courses. Yeah. I'm sure if they had 160 hard hitting cars like we do here, like we're so blessed to have, all running with 30-second gaps, all going like the clappers, it would be it's a different story. Yeah. It's a different story. I understand that. It's a different story.
As always, an absolute pleasure chatting to Frank there. We've heard about these great European adventures of his, and we've seen this year like some of our crews going over now and competing in the European Historic Championship as well too, and like that championship just going from strength to strength. Great to see guys from here travelling over and making the effort. We have said how good it looks, so I thought I'd catch up with Jimmy Edwards and Connor. Like, they're iconic events they go to. It looks fantastic. Again, the variety of cars and all, it just looks like an absolutely dream championship.
Yeah, look, it's a bit like a trip back in time, when you're watching the social media stuff on it. It looks amazing. And the thing is, these guys aren't holding, it's not like Rally Legend. They actually aren't holding back here. They are out to compete and they're out to win. And what we're seeing now, you know, the news recently where the Group A cars are going to be involved, which is fantastic news, absolutely is. But also when you look at the names getting involved, Delacour, possibly Panizzi, and we see Jari Matti now, stepping back from his role as Team Toyota manager to, what do you call it, get involved and do some of the events. Like, you only hope we're going to see more big names being attracted back into the sport for this.
Yeah, because obviously it's a draw for them to want to go and compete at that level too, and to see, yes, there's all this hype about, these new regulations coming in, is it going to be the end of historic rallying as we know it? That's why I caught up with Jamie. He is the manager of the European Historic Rally Championship, and he gives us the kind of the lowdown of what exactly is happening, because there's a lot of stories out there, there's a lot of, fluff out there, and I thought it was nice to get the real story of what is coming down the line.
Yeah, well, look, that's it. Like, what we try and do in this podcast, we always try and get it from the horse's mouth as much as we can, try and get what's happening behind the scenes. And as you say, look, there's a lot of uncertainty, there's a lot of unknown, and you're hearing both sides to, is the Group A a good thing? Is it a bad thing? So, as you pointed out, no better person to speak to than Jamie.
Jamie, we spoke a lot about the European Historic Rally Championship this year, and I suppose it's been so long since we spoke to you before, we thought we'd get a catch-up. The championship really has gone from strength to strength this year, and there's been a lot of interest from this side, I suppose, of the Irish Sea, really.
Yeah, no, thanks. Yeah, well, it's good to be back as well. So it's been an interesting journey since I was last on it here, actually. So yeah, the championship's going in the right direction. I think it's we've grown our sort of entry numbers in this season, which is nice. It's a bit of an increase on last year. We introduced some new concepts for this year as well, which were good. So we wanted to try and tackle a few issues really about sort of the lack of small engined or front wheel drive cars in the championship, and we've had a bit of interest this year, and it's been really good to see some battles in that. And yeah, as you say, we've been really lucky as well that we've had some familiar faces from over in Ireland on many of the rallies this year, which has been really good. And I think there's quite a sense of a positivity about the championship at the moment, which is something that we're trying to sort of build on and take forwards into next year.
Yeah, because the social media, you said before, like you wanted to build, the small man up and tell the story behind some of the lesser well-known competitors, and I think that has really come through. Like we've seen the guy in the wee Skoda Felicia, the guy, somebody else taking a wee front-wheel drive car, the husband and wife team come over and do the events as well. It's just lovely to see these people going out and enjoying the adventure of these events.
Yeah, and when I joined last year, it was kind of trying to understand what the championship was all about. I think I had completely the wrong perception of the championship before I got involved. My understanding of it was, to me, it seemed like a championship for millionaires. It seemed like a very high-end, sort of, what can you call it? Nice places, nice rallies, all that sort of stuff. And actually, when I got under the skin of the championship, there's a lot of very normal people involved in that series, and that's something that I wanted to build on and make sure that, we didn't end up with a championship which was just geared for the highest budgets. And I think that's something that you're right, is that we've got some really nice examples of normal people going rallying in our championship, which perhaps surprises people if you don't know that, if you don't follow it closely. We do have all sorts of people from all walks of life involved in the championship. We have people doing it on an absolute shoestring budget. We have people who don't. We have everything in between. And the sort of mentality that we're trying to take forwards with the championship is to keep this momentum behind this saying that we have, which is there's something for everybody. Not just the way the events are constructed, the way that we go to different locations, but also the types of cars that people can use. And there's some work that we've been doing recently, actually, to try and sort of improve the class structure for 2025. So, yeah, overall, it's a super championship to be involved in. I mean, I feel very privileged and very lucky to kind of be involved in the ground and in the thick of making these decisions. So, yes, it's a good thing to be involved in.
Yeah, and I think, you kind of touched on it there. Some of the events you go to, yes, they are picture postcard, but at the same time, this is proper rallying. This isn't just, like a wee tour around, and do the occasional stage. It's proper 2-3 days of tough rallying.
Yeah, and that's something that again, kind of fits this mentality of there's something for everybody. And what I like about the championship in particular is, let's say that I don't know, maybe you're a mature driver. Let's use that phrase, a mature driver, and you've done a lot of rallying over the years, and you want to do something a bit different. But maybe you're not as competitive as you used to be, and maybe you don't want to be as competitive as you used to be. And I think we've got people like that in the championship who just come and enjoy it, just come and enjoy the rallies. They enjoy, a meal with friends. They enjoy the meal with the team. They enjoy a glass of wine. They'll enjoy, the whole sort of experience of coming to the rallies. And that's really important for us, is that people come away with a good experience. And that's something that, again, I'm trying to sort of develop and work on for next year. But as we've already seen with the likes of Marty McCormack, we've got people like Marty coming doing events. We've got people like Donna Kelly. This, seriously competitive people. If you want to run at the sharp end in our championship, it's sharp, and that's the thing. That when you watch some of the onboards from our sort of leading competitors in sort of overall rankings, those guys are not messing around. There's some serious performance in these vehicles, and it's great to see that side of it. So I really like the fact that we get a balance with it. You can have people that are just there. We had a guy last year doing some rallies in a Morgan, and you just think to yourself, you're mad. You're absolutely mad. What you're doing, it's like there's no roof. It's like, you sort of, it's just completely mad. But you think to yourself, wow, this is what it's all about. It's somebody doing something different, doing the way they want to do it, really enjoying it. And there's a place for everyone. And I think that's a really important principle.
Yeah, because, like I know I said it before, like historic rallying in Ireland and in the UK is a wee bit of a Mark II fest. Whereas the European historic, like the range, the variety of cars, like from the Group B Quattro, or Group 4 Quattro, the Lancia 037s, Mark IIs, Mark 1s, the early Group A stuff. It's just, it's such a joy to watch the video clips that's up, because it's just the array of cars that's there. It just brings back so many memories.
Yeah, and also stuff that you just don't see.
Yeah.
It's just, it's actually been really, really good this year to see the British Historic Championship having, TR7 V8 and, the Porsche and the other battles that have been going on. Yeah, of course, the Escort's going to still be a popular car, and it's a popular car in our championship too. We have a few of them, and they always perform well. So, but I think for me, one of the nicest parts of my job is to be able to sort of, just before the madness begins each day, is when you're in Parc Ferme and you can just have a look around and just, see the sheer range of things, and that for me is such a joy, really, because, at the end of the day, I'm no different to anybody else. I'm a rally enthusiast to the core. And I love to see things like that. It's nice to go and have a look around a Renault 5 turbo rear-wheel drive, which, you never see them. If you go and do a VTRDA rally in the UK, you're not going to bump into one of them randomly or something like that. And that's no disrespect to that championship, far from it. But it's lovely to see these things. And often, people are very open and enthusiastic about it and chatty about it. And, some of the classic Porsches that you see on the events are stunning things. And yeah, the list just goes on. But, I love to see the more obscure stuff, as well. So
I like a Fiat Ritmo. When was the last time you even seen one on the road? Never mind in the rally,
The Fiat Ritmo is a very popular car in our championship. We've had one this year, Natale and Carlo. So I'm sure they'll probably be tuning in and listening into this. And they're super guys. Made a massive effort to come and follow the championship this year. And I love that story, because, that car is totally standard. It's a Group N car, and they just come, they have a smile on their face, they enjoy every aspect of it. When they win trophies, when they're battling for the front wheel drive championship, it genuinely means something to them, and they really sort of capture what my vision partly is about for the future of this series too.
And I suppose we may as well discuss the elephant in the room. We've heard the FIAs, they're changing the regulations regarding historic rallying. This is not the death knell, of historic rallying as we know it. Like, the rallying has to evolve. Historic rallying is the same. This is an opportunity.
Yeah, it's absolutely an opportunity, and I think some people have got massively the wrong end of the stick with this as well. And especially, it's easy to comment, but it's better to comment when you've got full sight of the regulations and the plans, which a lot of people haven't. The truth is, at the end of the day, it's easy to look at it from a very narrow framing perspective and say, okay, that's it, the game's gone. Everyone's going to turn up in a 306 Maxi, a Renault Megane Maxi, a P2000 Impreza WRC car, Peugeot 206 WRC. It's just simply not going to happen like that. The cost of those vehicles alone is absolutely skyrocketing still. The cost will have increased even further now that there's obviously the usability tax that will go on it from them being eligible for these types of things. So I think, unfortunately, some people, I think, need a bit of a dose of reality about it. Of course, it's going to be fantastic to be able to see kit cars, early WRC cars coming out onto the stages. But in truth, I think that the actual reality of that is going to be very different to what people expect. And I think the actual take-up of that is probably going to be quite small. However, the way we look at it is also, this brings opportunities, to use your exact phrase. We have a passion for trying to make the championship accessible. And I think it's really important going forwards that we look at how we can make that happen. For example, at the moment, we're discussing the options about splitting the championship so that we retain historic as it currently is, and then perhaps have a different focus, a different sort of championship then for the newer cars from sort of 93 to 2000. So we're doing some feasibility work about that at the moment to see what the best way to sort of pitch that is. So we don't want a situation where it feels like we're trying to sort of, mesh everything together in one place. But the other thing that we look at as well is that we want to try and get away from the mentality that everybody's competing against each other. We want to sort of encourage the fact that it's like a celebration of the sport. It's nice to be able to go to a rally and see, for example, a 1968 Skoda Octavia Super. When would you see one of those? And that person's there enjoying themselves, enjoying the rally. Yes, the car's slow, but they're having fun. They're enjoying the fact that they're celebrating the history of a vehicle. There's no difference in my mind between that person celebrating that vehicle and somebody that wants to drive, for example, I don't know, maybe their dream car when they were younger was an Evo 6 Group N car. Who knows? Those people will be out there. And then there's possibilities for that to become more accessible for people. And we're kind of just spreading that range of experiences that people can have with different cars. And, a good friend of mine I was talking to the other week, and we were talking about the fact that he's got a Group A Opel Astra sat in the shed, hasn't moved for a long time, looking for something to do with it. Where better than to come and do some of those events and experience that, bring a nice car like that, solid, durable car, still accessible to get the bits for them. And I think, there's some real untapped potential there for, certainly in places like France, for example, with things like Peugeot 106s, the Saxo, there's all kinds of different smaller capacity cars as well, which now have this opportunity to come and enjoy some of these types of rallies. And I think, that could be a real success story in the future.
Yeah, because Group A rallying wasn't all about the big bang cars. There was all those 1400, 1600, 1900 cars, like a 309 GTI, like class V cars too. Like as you say, Saxos, 106s. Like there's so many opportunities.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and we know that the subject or the word variety comes up so often with historic cars. It's everybody wants to talk about the fact they've got variety in their championship. It's not just a certain type of vehicle and stuff like that. And we're very proud of the fact that we have a lot of variety in our championship. And I only see that going one way, and I think that'll grow. And I think that's the nice thing is that, ultimately, there's an awful lot of rally cars sat somewhere which are probably not far away from their homologation from back in the day, depending on what type of car they were. And I think as a result, some people will look at those cars that are sat in the garage and think, hey, you know what? We could use that again. Might be a bit of fun. Yeah. And it's that sort of connection with memory lane for people as well. And the way that we see our job is to kind of frame a championship where they can come and enjoy different experiences. Maybe their dream was to go and do a rally in Finland. Well, with us, you can do that, and you'll be supported by our team. You'll be with like-minded people. Maybe your dream is to go and do, something completely different, something out of your comfort zone, like the Acropolis or, whatever it might be.
I've always wanted to go to Italy to compete in a rally, or Spain or whatever, there's going to be options there. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. You've got places like Costa Brava, Elba, which is a super rally. I've never been there until this year. Super rally on an island in Italy, lovely stages, beautiful place to be. There's all these different experiences, and I guess it all comes back to this principle of you don't need to have a Peugeot 306 Maxi to come and enjoy that experience. But if you do, you're very welcome. And that's kind of the mentality, is there's something to build for everybody to come in and enjoy it. What my job in particular is to make sure that it doesn't end up feeling like, you're taking over my rally or you're taking over from my historic experience. And that's something that I'm navigating our way through at the moment internally in the FIA to make sure that we get that balance right as best we can. You'll never please everybody. And I think that's the reality. But, what we're trying to do is apply some common sense to it. And as a rally person trying to feed into those decisions, I feel like hopefully we can come to the table with some good solutions.
Yeah, because rallying, historic rallying in particular, has always had, there's been different categories and one thing and another. So this is not reinventing the wheel. This is kind of just teasing out what's already there.
Yeah, and actually sort of looking at next year and the changes that we're trying to sort of bring into the championship for next year, we've completely sort of reconsidered the way our class structure works for the championship for next year, because we had some unfairness in our class system, which was definitely a reason that some people didn't follow the championship and didn't come to the events, because, in category 4, for example, this season, a team from Hungary competing in a Lada Samara Group A car, we're effectively competing in the same category as our champions, Tibor Erdi and Ispan. And they're in a Group A Ford Sierra Sapphire Cosworth, with a full 7-speed gearbox, everything. And you just think, I remember, I've stood there before now and thought, what's that all about? And, we've fixed that problem for next year, and we've tried to bring some fairness into those categories and classes and try to sort of split things up into a fairer system for people so that people have their own battles to fight for. And that was kind of a move towards having the 1600 and the front wheel drive trophies for this year, which were, quite popular for a first year. And we expect that to grow into next year as well. So, yeah, I think, like you say, you've got to look at the areas that you can refine and enhance and try and build some more of a following for those things. And again, that work's been done and the regulations will be following pretty soon to so that people can see that themselves.
Yeah, and the other thing is, too, people say, they're going to be all these Corolla WRCs or, the S5 and the S6 Subarus, These cars, they are a collector's item now, There only was maybe 10, 15 chassis ever built. It's not something that you can knock up in the shed out the back. These have to be authentic cars of the period.
Yeah, that's correct. And that's, we use a system called the HTP, which is the Historic Technical Passport in the FIA. And to be able to get historic technical papers for these types of cars, they need to be fully conforming with their homologation from the period. They need to be, an original shell certified. For example, if it was an Impreza, it would have to be certified by ProDrive and things of that nature. So it's not a case that, what we try not to be is we're not trying to be a silhouette formula. We're not trying to have cars that look like they're real. We also understand that brings challenges. If somebody wants to build a brand new Group A Subaru 555 car, that's not going to be a cheap exercise. That's kind of out of our control. We're not forcing people to go down that route. If somebody wants to build a car like that, or, we have a company in Italy at the moment, we know of a company in Italy at the moment that is building some Peugeot 306 Maxis. And Francois Delacour has been driving that car in Madeira at the weekend and was winning the rally out there, which was really good to see. But these are choices that people can make. People have invested in getting those correct body shells created by Matter, which is the original manufacturer of those shells. They're going through the correct processes to build that type of car. But it's not a situation where, certainly in our championship and the way that we operate, it's not like a silhouette formula where you can just cobble something together and say, hey, that's a Group A Subaru. And you look at it underneath and think, yeah, I don't think that is. Mm-hmm. And we don't want that culture. That's not what we're about in our championship. There are plenty of places for people to go and do that type of rallying. And for us, we want to try and preserve the heritage and the history of the sport. But we don't force people to go down that route. Nobody's forced anybody to build a 306 Maxi. Nobody's forced somebody to build a Group A Subaru. And there will be plenty of classes and categories to accommodate all types of vehicles. And I think that's a really important thing to state.
Yeah, because, it's going to be the death of the Mark II. 2 weeks ago in Greece, the final round of the championship, the Mark II won it. A well-driven Mark II is still competitive on gravel, probably more so on gravel, but even still on tar, it's not going to be a million miles away.
Now, I know I should know the answer to this question. I think I do know the answer to this question, but I know somebody will correct me immediately if I'm wrong. The last 3 events that we've had on gravel in the European Historic Championship, the first placed finisher in terms of championship points and everything else has been a Mark II Escort. So I think Ernie Graham did that in Lati this year. We had Richard Jordan and Sam Collis who won in the Acropolis, and we had Marty and Barney winning Acropolis last year. So there's proof straight away that the Mark II Escort is still alive and kicking. We've had Christophe Jacob from Belgium following the championship this year, which has been really good in category 3, and he's been super competitive on the events that he's done. So again, upholding the honours for the Mark II Escort. So I don't think we're going to be saying goodbye to that type of vehicle for a very long time, because there's such a huge infrastructure in place to support them. And on that subject, I think we will see some new industries coming up. It'll be interesting to see what over the next decade becomes the sort of the Mark II Escort of the future, if we can call it that. I mean, will the Escort Cosworth take its place as the go-to car for people to start making new parts, casting new parts, that sort of stuff? And I think it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next few years in terms of where that market goes.
Yeah, because I think this is only the beginning. This could just go off in any direction, really, and it's such an exciting period. And from your point of view, this must just be like Christmas has come early. Just waiting to see where it's all going to go.
Well, it's a strange place to be at the moment, because it's like I know people already that have said to me, I'm not sure what I'm going to do next year because I'm kind of building my new car, or I'm going to use my new car on some rallies, and I think next year could be one of those years where I think we need to give a bit of time for people to sort of get their heads around it. And one of the things that we've made a deliberate decision on as well is that we wanted to respect the people that follow our championship and have followed our championship for whether they followed it for many years or they're relatively new to it. So what we didn't, even though we've got this new Appendix K document which defines that cars can be used up to the year 2000, we didn't think it was the right time for us to go all in straight away. So we haven't gone down that route straight away for next year. And what we mean by that is that we're not trying to be in a position where we're saying, right, okay, the new cars are coming in, they're going to take over. We made a very conscious decision to not go down that route. So you will see some of these new cars in the European Historic Championship next year. But for example, they won't score points. So if you turn up in a Group A Subaru next year, you can come and enjoy the rallies, you can come and get part of what our world is all about, get introduced to it, but you're not going to be scoring points. You're not going to be competing for a category next year. We've made some very clear decisions about that, because also we feel it's important that we give a bit of time for people to get used to this idea, and for us as well in the FIA to kind of see what this reaction is going to be like. Maybe we're all wrong, and maybe we'll turn up in Costa Brava and there'll be 42 Group A Subarus lined up. Maybe we're wrong, but I doubt it. But I mean, if it happens, it happens. I'll be happy about it. But this is the reality of the situation. So 2026 is when you'll really start to see a difference, certainly from our side of it in the championships. And we'll have clear structures in place for then, and that's work that's going on right now to sort of design how that's going to look for the future. So it is an exciting time, and I'm very, very positive and optimistic about the future. And there's been a lot of hard work, to sort of develop the championship and lift it up from, certainly when I inherited the reins last year, it was a slightly strange set of circumstances, because it felt like it was the sort of the end of the road, and this is the end of the championship and everything else. And it's really positive to see the turnaround and to see a friendly championship, and I think it's a nice environment when people come to the rallies for the first time. And I think generally the feedback is that people enjoy that experience. So long may that continue.
Huge thanks to Jamie. We've been very interested in the historic championship, and it's great to see, there's constantly new developments and things are unfolding. And personally, I'm curious to see what other WRC stars get attracted to that championship. So roll on 2025.
Well, that's for sure, Connor. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And then, before we wrap up this show, there's an event happening down in Killarney this weekend. Did you want to give it a shout out there as well?
Absolutely. Look, on behalf of a good friend of the podcast, Mikie Galvin, Mikie, Paul Nagle, Noel O'Sullivan and Ger Conway are running a Night of the Navigators event on Friday the 22nd, 7:30 p.m. at Killarney Racecourse. It's done in conjunction with Killarney District Motor Club and their youth programme. And it's for basically young co-drivers starting out, or somebody who's maybe interested in becoming a co-driver. It's a chance for them to kind of get a bit of advice, get some, background, get a bit of encouragement, get some guidance, hear a few stories, from Noel and Paul and Mikie and Ger. And it's just a great opportunity for somebody to go along and hear a bit more about what's involved, or happens behind the scenes as a co-driver.
Yeah, and four better co-drivers you will not find, this is, you're getting world championship level, this is the cream of Irish co-drivers.
Absolutely, it's something in the water in that neck of the woods. So yeah, look, it's a great night. It's a great opportunity. There's very few of these events are ever put on, throughout the year, unfortunately. And to get, that caliber of experienced co-driver involved to pass on their advice and their knowledge is just a phenomenal opportunity. So if you're interested in going along, Friday, 22nd of November, 7:30 p.m, Killarney Racecourse. Check out the Killarney District Motor Club website for further details.
Perfect, yeah. So that is episode 49, series 3, episode 49. Please like, share, rate, subscribe. All those things makes a huge difference as always. It's been an absolute pleasure. Until the next time, take care, speak soon, and bye.